it's Jenny with the Go Box, and I'm here to teach you a fun Halloween craft. Today we're going to be painting a Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas on this awesome coffin board that is made from reclaimed wood, and it's about 1/2 inch thick. And I love the rustic quality of this. Paul makes these, and if you're interested in purchasing one of these, they are available on the website gobox.com. And it comes with all the instructions and the paint you need to complete exactly what I'm doing today. So I have 3 brushes, just our standard brush bundle that comes on gobox.com. It's a 1 inch flat, a number 8 bright, and a number 4 round. Those seem to get me through just about every single painting that we do. And then color-wise, I just have plain old black and white. We're gonna make some gray tones. And then I grabbed Bahama Blue because I thought I might do something kind of fun with that. We'll see. But let's go ahead and get started. Cheers to you guys. I am sipping on Dee's Wicked Baked Apple Cider. It tastes just like apple pie in a bottle. It's so good. So that's gonna give me my liquid courage to get through this video session. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna take my flat brush, my 1 inch wide, dip it in water, and dry it lightly on the towel. I'm gonna pull aside a little black and some white. I'm gonna make kind of a dark charcoal gray. About like that. And then the wood kind of works like when you're painting on the wood, it absorbs it like you're doing a stain. So I actually like to water down this paint and give it kind of a wash when I'm painting it on. I do want some of this beautiful wood grain to show through, so I don't want to cover it up with an extremely opaque coating of paint. So I'm going to now start, and I'm going to pull this in from the edges. What I'm doing is I'm sort of creating a little vignette all the way around the edges of the board. As you pull your brush towards you, just let it kind of run out of paint. I've gone a long way already with just one dipping of the brush, and now I can probably flip it over and get a little more out of it. But what I love is these areas where the wood grain is really strong, and you paint that dark color over the top, and it really pulls that awesome texture out. So let's grab some more paint here. Work your way around. Just kind of feathering it in. And you can really see that grain popping through right here too. I'm always just pulling inward. You can always go back and add more if you want. I need to refresh my paint with a little water. And you can see that wood really sucks it up, and it dries pretty fast. So this wood was somebody here locally in Sherwood where I live. It was their fence that we just restored, reclaimed, resanded, cleaned it, and now we can do all kinds of fun wood projects with it. Okay, so now I've got a pretty good vignette going. I do have wood grain showing through, which I really like. I think I've said that multiple times. And those little tippy tappies you hear are my 2 Shiba Inus. They are in here deciding it's time to play with each other. So I could leave it like this. I really like the wood showing through here. I think that looks really cool. I might give it a light wash in the middle. So to do that, I probably would mix a little bit lighter charcoal. So just pull in a little more white, a little more water. Whoops, and you're getting kind of a ghostly light color. I'm gonna dab my brush on the towel first. And here's here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pull that color now inwards in the areas that I haven't painted yet. It's pretty watered down because I do want some of the wood showing through. I used to paint these pretty solid, and then I realized that by doing more of a stain finish, you really can get such a nice looking piece in the end. Running out of paint pretty quick here as the wood is really absorbing it. I do like this where I'm brushing it up into the charcoal gray. It's kind of creating almost a foggy sort of look, which is nice and spooky. Already I'm out of paint, so I've got plenty of room here on my palette and plenty of paint. So I will just keep mixing more and more. I tend to make a big old mess on my palette. I am really liking the addition of a little white. Like I said, it gets that sort of foggy look. That also helps pick up some of the really cool wood grain as well. Especially right here where I've got this big knot hole. We make state-shaped boards in the studio, so of course since we're in Oregon, we do primarily Oregon boards, but sometimes some Washington ones, because we do get a lot of people that drive in from Vancouver area and different areas of Washington to paint with us. And the students are always wanting to pick the smoothest boards, and they're afraid of these ones that have the aggressive knot holes, but I'll tell you what, they make the best paintings. And it's just hard to know. I mean, you come in, you see something that has this really aggressive knot hole, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm not going to be able to paint with that. But I've done some different things where I've turned it into, I had one painting where it ended up being where I wanted the sunset to be. So I just painted the sun right over the top of the knot hole. It looks really cool. All right, I'm getting close here. My arm's getting a little tired. Maybe I'll put a little more in the middle as I see it up on the monitor there. I see where I could add just a bit more opaque paint in the middle. Although Jack's head is going to go right in here. And if you want a little more drama, I'll show you how to do that. In just a minute. So I'm just kind of letting my brush run out of paint here. So I have a really good, kind of worn looking piece right now that I really like. If I wanted to add a little more drama, remember how we did the charcoal gray vignette around the edges? I could do just a wash of black. Just try it with a very small amount of paint with some water added. And I'll just do it along the top here just so you see what it looks like. I'm going to dab my brush first because I had a little too much paint on there. Same with the canvas. If you have too much paint on your brush, it kind of starts getting to where you have to figure out where to put it. Because it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. It feels like you're never going to run out of paint. So there across the top, I did a little more dramatic arch. That'll look good with the spider webs over the top that I'm going to paint on. And you can do that as well if you like. Just adding a little darker vignette. But this is already looking or feeling pretty dry, so I'm going to get ready to paint Jack's head. After I take a quick little sip. Alright, so Jack's head is centered right, actually it's kind of nice with these 3 planks. I center his head right in between this middle area. And it's like the size of a large grapefruit, I would say. And I put him a little down further. He's kind of like maybe a little lower than middle because we put some spider webs up here. We have a little spider dangling down, and then we have the word boo right across there. So yeah, his head's gonna be probably right in here, a little lower than right in the middle. So I'm gonna take my number 8 Bright, dip it in water just to kind of wake it up, loosen up the bristles, dry it off real good. This is where I'm going to use pretty opaque paint. And if you feel more comfortable using your smallest brush to sketch a circle, you can absolutely do so. If you are more comfortable making a circle template, or like those little paper plates that you can buy at the Dollar Tree that are dessert plates, are probably like the perfect size. So you can always trace something. I usually will just put a little mark where I know I want the top of the head to be. Maybe a little mark where I want the chin to be, right about there. So I know I'm just going to kind of dot out a circular shape. And I look at a lot of different pictures of Jack Skellington because I end up drawing him a lot, and we have several fun little paintings that we've done over the years with Jack. And sometimes his face is kind of egg-shaped, and sometimes it's really round, sometimes it's more oblong. So don't stress too much about getting that perfect circle. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint his eyes in. So I've got the head sort of dotted out. We're going to skip around a little bit and let things dry. So this is where I'm going to pull over my sheet of, I was drawing earlier, my sheet of different Jack Skellington facial expressions. So there's a lot of them. This one was, I think this was the first one I drew, and I feel like it didn't quite look like him. But all the others, here's the one where I said his head is kind of egg-shaped. I did actually see that online. I really love, they're all great. When he's in the coffin, like this would be a good one, like he's confused what's going on. But I really like Sinister Jack. So I'm going to go with this Sinister Smile Jack. So his eyes are actually shaped a lot like if you were to draw like a little cereal bowl or a rice bowl and just kind of tilt it on its side. They're tilting outward like that, so it gets that kind of V-shaped angry brow look. So pop that over to the side. Check out Pinterest for Jack Skellington faces. You can find all kinds of them. So here we go. So I'm gonna just kind of tap out what would be the top of the eye. So at first it's gonna look like I said, angry eyebrows. Don't stress about these eyes lining up perfectly with cartoony things, and the eyes can be a little bit wonky and not necessarily line up. And then I'm going to do that sort of bowl shape. I am using my number 8 brush, but you might be more comfortable using this little tiny round brush. I'd try out both and see what you like better. Or if you have your own brushes, maybe you're familiar with what works for you. There we go. And I'm going to give these a little coat of paint. Just plain black. This time you don't have to mix it with water. We're definitely doing a very opaque. With Jack's head and eyes, his whole face and body, he's going to have opaque. It's mainly just the background that we wanted to be that sort of transparent to show the wood grain. Like he's really in this old pine coffin, when really it's cedar. Somebody's cedar fence. Here lies poor old Jack. Perfect timing in that song. Don't know if you can hear it playing in the background. Just filling these in. I'm not overly concerned with the shape of the eye right now because we bring white paint in from the outside in, and that means I can clean up the eye shape as long as it's nice and dry. So I'm going to skip around just a bit now, washing my brush off. My throat is getting really dry. Everybody in our household came down with this cold virus last week, and I'm at the end of it, but my voice keeps going. So I'm going to paint Jack's little neck bones, and there's about 3 or 4 of them all together. They're very easy. It's just you're going to use your flat number 8 brush. And it's like you're just painting a subtraction symbol. There's one. And then just under it, I'm going to make another one. About the same size if possible, but again, it's sort of a cartoony thing, so don't stress too hard if it's not the exact same. In fact, I'm going to tilt this one a little bit just to make it wonky and different. So you could have 3 or you could have 4. It's entirely up to you. His He's a very long and lean guy. So, whatever goes. Long and lean. He's probably like the original Slenderman. Now I'm going to paint, he has a little bat-shaped face here that's kind of like part of his bow tie, I guess. This time I am going to pick up the number 4 round. Dip it in water, loosen up the bristles, dry it on your towel. Black paint. So the bat face is really, it's a lot like a cat face. And just under his last neck bone here, I'm going to go straight across, but extend it on either side a little bit, like maybe a 1/4 inch on either side. And then this part is going to go down, straight down, like you're drawing an actual bow tie. But then it's going to angle in this triangular shape. And we're going to draw some nice bat ears here. I like to make them long and skinny, just like Jack is. And I'm going to fill this in solid. We'll come back in and outline some of it with white later to make it stand out, because when we start painting his little suit jacket on, we do lose this just a bit on the sides primarily. Plus it needs these little evil eyes, which we'll paint on in white. So far, so good. He's leaning a little bit. Whoops. Happy little accident. Now my bat's going to have a little bit bigger ears. That's okay. I just sort of work with it. I do a lot of little mistakes when I'm drawing. And sometimes it's set in stone. Like when you're painting on wood, you're kind of locked in. I could work and erase it a little bit with some water on a clean brush. But when you're drawing, like I did Inktober today, I made a mistake and I just had to make it fit in. So sometimes that's the way it goes. Okay, I'm going to go now to my number 8 brush again. This guy here, I don't know if cider's good for my drying out throat. It's working, I guess. So now I'm going to make Jack's shoulders, which is part of a black sort of dinner jacket looking thing. And just under the bat ears, I'm going to slope down on one side, and then I just match it up on the other side. And then these just go straight down off the bottom of your coffin. I've got this knot hole right here to contend with. It's like a gunshot wound. Kind of goes with this Old West tiny coffin. Okay, so he has this, like I said, this suit jacket on, and it's got sort of a V opening. So I'm going to at first it almost looks like he's wearing like a cardigan. Oops, that was a little too far over. Just sort of sketching it out. When we paint the white in here later, you can reshape that pretty easily. It's not too hard to deal with. And he does have like little lapels and stuff that we won't see because it's going to be pretty black. We'll do a little defining with some white later, but for now I want you to fill in both these sides so it does kind of look, like I said, it looks like he's wearing some kind of black cardigan at first. And you can use pretty thick paint here. The wood will really suck it right up. It's going to dry fast. The grain with what you're working on here is much more aggressive than a canvas for sure. It's all new. Definitely a new experience painting on wood. I really enjoy it a lot. And it's fun and also frustrating to come up with the painting ideas, because there's been a lot that I've done where I have been too opaque with my paint throughout the whole entire painting, and I've completely lost the quality of the wood. Although the painting might be good, it just doesn't look right because I've covered all that beautiful wood up. Just looks like something is not right. Okay, so there he is in his little black cardigan. Gonna wash this brush off. And while this dries a little bit, let's go ahead and go back to Jack's face. And whether you use, I would use a combination of these two brushes, your 1-inch flat brush and your number 8 bright, or whatever brush you have on hand. And it's okay if there's a little gray in your white, because he looks really good with that kind of pale grayish pallor. So I'm using my big brush just to get the large areas. I'm not going to get close to his eyes yet with this brush. We'll just treat it like we're putting a cosmetic little clay mask. He's got his bath time routine going on. So we're just painting a little clay mask on him. Gotta bring back, plump out your skin, Jack. I was working in the Moreland Theater in Selwood when this movie came out. I was 18 years old, and it was 1993. And that was one of my first jobs. My uncle owned the theater, still does. He's owned it since 1975. And it's right next door to our Selwood Mango studio. But I watched this movie so many times. I fell in love with it. I still love it. My kids love it. Everybody seems to love it. There's just something so cool about it. Alright, so now I'm getting pretty close to his eyes. He's looking like a Roswell alien. Somebody brought one back from the Area 51 raid. I'm going to wash this big brush off now and set it aside, and now I'm going to come in with my smaller brush. Whether you use either of these two is fine. I like this number 8 flat or bright because it is flat and you can sort of manipulate how you use it. Like turn it on its edge and use the skinny side, or use the wide side for larger areas. And I'm just going around, and this is where I'll clean up the edges of the eyes as best as I can. Now there is wood grain. Some will be a little stronger than others. So don't beat yourself up if you are having a little difficulty getting a super crisp and clean edge. It doesn't have to be. Like I've got some really heavy grain up here above the eyes. I'm not going to stress about it. Just get it as clean as I can. Got a couple spots up around the head too that need to be fixed up. So I'm going to re-outline the head, excuse me, and come down here too. But I will do the eyes first. Definitely starting to look a bit more like Jack Skellington. I was thinking about other things that could be painted in this as well. Some people might not be into the Nightmare Before Christmas. I can't imagine somebody not being into it, but no, I was thinking like No Face from Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. You have to, I guess, be an anime fan. That would be a cool thing to paint in here. There was something else too, but that was a couple hours ago I was thinking about that, so it's apparently left my brain. We had talked about doing a pumpkin-headed sort of Jack Skellington-like figure in here, which would be super cool. But good old Jack makes a good fit for this, definitely, especially when he's got this sinister expression. Alright, so I really love how, because of the texture of the wood, you're not able to get a super heavy coat of paint on here, and so what happens is you get some of this gray paint we put on poking through, which adds some really cool natural shading, and we're actually going to shade this a little more. Okay, so I want to shade kind of the sides down in here. And then under his eyes, he does have these sort of like eye bag things in the movie several times. So I'm gonna mix a little gray. So white and black together. And this will hopefully still be a little wet because that works great. Oh yeah, I like that. So just shading just inside the outline on either side. And if you end up with a really hard edge, you want to blend it in, wipe your brush off and just use the clean brush that doesn't really have much of any paint on it. Just sort of blur out the edges. We could take this color down along the chin also. And my natural tendency is I want to shade a little bit on these neck bones as well, so they're not just all one color. So I'll just pop a little of that gray shading on there. And then under the eyes, this is going to make his eyes look like they actually have some shape, like you can see cheekbones and all that. So I'm just bringing that gray as a, these are the things we try to cover as adult women. These eye bags that we get, the dark circles under the eyes. I have them every morning at 6:30 when I get up and start getting my child off to school. Okay, so I'm just coming all the way up on either side. I painted over the black a little bit, not going to worry about that. If it feels like it's too dark and not blended in enough, you can wash your brush. You could try just using a damp, clean brush and sort of just blurring the edges. That's working pretty good for me. The other thing you could do is you could take the tiniest little bit of white and come up from the bottom and blur the edges that way. Ooh, that's looking pretty good. Could make it even more dramatic if I wanted to by adding just a little darker gray. I'm all about building as you go. Wash and blend. Already got the little Jack Skellington appearance going on here. And I'm gonna wash the brush. You can always use your fingertip too if you see any areas that, you know, maybe didn't get blended in enough or whatever. I'm gonna add actually a little bit more shadow here and here. And I'm gonna lift this up so you can see it a little closer. There we go. See his little eye bags and his shading down around the jawline and the neck bones. So back down. And let's continue on. So I'm going to use my little brush and I'm going to paint Jack's nose. Now, they're just two little slits, like right up between his eyes and down just a little. They're almost like two little teardrop shapes that are kind of bending out from each other. Let's face it, it's a Voldemort nose. That looks about right. Not totally centered for me, but that's okay. Whoops, I almost washed my brush in my cider. I'm gonna clean up this little edge I just saw. I've got a little hair hanging off the end of my number 4 brush. That looks pretty good. I'll take it. And now I'm going to paint the mouth. And for the mouth, because we have a really long line to make, your little number 4 brush is going to run out of paint. If you start here, it's going to run out of paint right about there. So I actually will stir a drop of paint into a drop of water into a drop of paint. I kind of liquefy it to the consistency of maybe like heavy cream. So something that's not real drippy, but it's also not as thick as the blob of paint sitting on your palette. So now for the mouth, I'm just gonna do, like I said, the Sinister Jack smile. Let me pull this over here. That was this one right here. So the mouth it's far down from the nose. It's pretty close to the chin, and it really stretches from outside corner of eye to outside corner of eye. Okay, mouth. So remember, it's kind of far down. It's about like here. You can, in fact, if you want to mark it off, you could. That could be a little face too. I've seen before where he has the little oval mouth right there, and it's kind of cute. But I'm just going to stretch this up, going just parallel the round sides of the head. And if you need to turn your board that you're working on in any direction to help you out, go ahead and do it. I'm going to try and do it this way so I don't have to turn it, so you guys can see it. That's looking okay, but he needs his weird little tooth stitchy things. Okay, so now I'm going to draw on. Now that if you pay attention to pictures of Jack in the movie, these kind of go all different directions, almost like stitches. Like stitches done by some mad doctor, Dr. Victor Frankenstein. You can do one on each end too if you want. There, yes, I like it. All right, so let's go ahead and this should be nice and dry. We'll go ahead and take our little number 4 brush and white, and I'm going to outline just the outer sides of Mr. Bat here. Down the side, down the chin. Oogie Boogie would be a good one to paint in here. And the bat's eyes, they're actually a lot like Jack's. I'm just going to do 2 white slit shapes that are pointed up on either side. That kind of gives them like a crazy, mad look. Can't trust this guy. And you know, while I've got the white on my brush, I'll put a little white shine just kind of in the center of each of these neck bones. There, that looks good. And I'm going to wash this little brush off. And going to pick up my number 8 bright and white paint. Even if it's actually a light gray, would be totally fine too. I'm going to paint in the white dress shirt that Jack has on. Go right up to your outline of your very fox-looking bat. It kind of reminds me of a fox. And this is where, if you felt like maybe this was too narrow and you wanted to widen it up, you could definitely do that. I feel like mine's probably about right for where I want it to be. And here I'm using a pretty opaque layer of paint. If you like, you could have some of the wood showing through, but I kind of like the wood in the background and Jack being pretty opaque here. Alright. Got this nice big knot hole here, like I said earlier. It's the bullet hole. Okay, so now I want to make his fun frilly collar thing, which goes out and there's little swirls on the end. It's really super whimsical. For the little swirls on the ends, I am going to use my number 4 brush. But to start the lines, I'll be going crazy if I try to use this. So I'm going to use the skinny edge, so this vertical edge of my number 8 bright black paint. And you can have fun with this. It can come up really high. There's like 3 on each side. They're just like lines that curl. So I'm not going to curl them yet. I'm just going to get the shape. So I'm going to go up and out. Kind of a wonky little line there. It can extend into here too. I have some really rough grain over here. It'll be fun to work with. This one I'm going to end up having it curl under, but for now I want to use this brush because I want to thicken it up right here where it comes out of the jacket, and then it goes real skinny on the ends. So that almost looks like a wicked tree branch. And then I'll do one just below it. So this one's going to curl down. Maybe I'll make this one curl up. But not yet. I'm going to thicken that up where it comes out of his collar area. Got some really, it looks like some kind of wood-eating bugs came through and made a pattern at some point. Cool! More sinister. So this one's curling down, this one's curling up. This one could go either direction. Maybe it's going to be a little shorter. Maybe I'll just have it curl down right here. Thicken it up just a bit. Extend it over here just a little bit. So I could leave it like that. I think it actually looks really cool. But to get that true Tim Burton style, we have to do little curly cues. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right now I want to do this side. And please don't try to match them up. They should be really wonky. So there's my other one. Thicken it up. Pretend you're painting tree branches. Just don't think of it like you're painting a suit jacket collar. Here's my middle guy. And the last one over here. Just kind of take a look and see if you need to add any more paint down in here. I'm liking it. Okay, so now I'm going to wash this brush and set it aside. And I'm going to pick up the little guy. This time I do want to add a drop of paint to a drop of water to a drop of paint, just like I said earlier, where you're thinning it out to the consistency of heavy cream, just like we did when we painted the mouth. And you can curl these to your heart's content. I can keep going and going, or you can just do a little curl. You can always go back and add more paint if it doesn't feel like it was opaque enough and doesn't stand out enough. This one I'm going to try to curl up, so it's going to have to be a littler curl here. I don't know if you can see that very good. There we go. Doot. Okay. So now, look at this guy. I guess he'll curl up too. They look like Salvador Dali mustaches. And now this one, you know, my tendency here is if I curl it down, I'm going to go off the side, which I don't like, so we don't want him poking out of the coffin. So it's going to curl up. And that's kind of cool because it's very wonky. Haphazard collar. This one, it looks like it would be curling down, just based on where my line ended. And finally, the last one, yes! This one I think I'm going to curl down too for the same reason that it would end up going off the board if I tried to manipulate it to curl upward. So, yay! I love that. Holding that up, tilting it around. Gotta figure out, there we go. Love it. Okay, now I am going to wash this little brush off. And we're gonna let this dry just a bit because I wanna come back, we're gonna add some little white, little lines that would divide where his skinny little arms are and probably some kind of jackety type lines. And then I wanna make a dark line down the center of his shirt that will make it look more like it's like a button-down shirt. So for now, we're gonna switch gears and we're going to go up to spider webs. We don't have a whole lot left to do on this. And spider webs, they seem like they would be really complicated, but they're not that bad. Mainly you wanna mix water and white paint together, about like how we had thinned our black out to be the consistency of heavy cream. And that's only because we're drawing lines with the little brush, which tends to run out of paint really fast. So, I'm just looking at a picture on my computer, so I'm following along. I had it so I just put a little marker point to divide. I have two spider webs, they're both coming down this way. And they just go below these points. They could go right to the points. That seems like it might be actually a little bit better. So I'm gonna just sketch along here. right to the point or somewhere near it. Again, everything in this painting can be really kind of wobbly because that would match the style of whatever art style this is. Whimsical. So think of this like a big parting curtain. The curtain is parting for the superstar, which is Jack. And the curtain is made of spider webs. That's probably how it would be. Okay, so now what I do is we need to make lines that go out in a sort of ray pattern, the way spiders build their webs. So first off, I'm going to actually parallel this line. Oops. All right, can we see okay, Paul?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go up. I'm going to end right at this top corner of this board, right where I made that accidental mark. It was just showing me the way. And the next line is going to go up to that point as well, real close to it, right next to it. And then this one, let's say all the points are going to be pointing right to here. So that's actually a really nice guide tool. Just know that right there at that corner, where one wood piece becomes another, that'll be your guidepost. Some people might like to pull towards them. Other people like to draw upward. I tend to like to pull towards myself on most things I do. Although when I paint trees, I go from the ground up. Okay, so side one is partly done. And if you had room, you could tuck another skinny one in there, but I don't really feel like I have room. And so now we need to do this one. So go from the point down if you want. Just parallel. Remember, we're paralleling the side of this board, this angle here first, as close as you can. I have such rough wood grain right here on this side. And now this one is going to go out from there, always coming from this point. Doesn't matter how many of these lines you put on, as long as they're always kind of going splayed out from this point here. All right, last one that I can fit on here. So that will start off the spider web. And now all of the other lines that you put on are going to be arched. So I'll start at the top here because we'll do real small ones that way. You just arch it, and you do one right next to it. Arch, arch. So see that? And I just go down a space, maybe half an inch. Spider webbing it. My daughter started naming spiders that we'd find on our porch because they're always hanging near the light fixtures, and she's terrified of spiders, just like I am. So we actually started naming them, and she gives them like Edwardian names. And that seems to help her get over her fear. Now she'd still scream like crazy if one landed on her. But when we get home from someplace and she walks up and see it, she'll say like, "Hi, Edmund." So I suppose that helps in some weird little way. This one's done! Pretty easy. I used to really struggle with spider webs when I was a kid, and then I finally sat down one day and figured out how to draw them. And that's what it is. It's practicing and practicing and practicing. That's what I love about this whole Inktober thing, which is it's a hashtag on Instagram. And everybody draws, somebody comes up with a theme. It's the Inktober Instagram page. Every day has a theme. Like yesterday was ring, and that can be any kind of ring you want, whether it's a ring that you wear or a ring from a telephone, whatever says ring to you, ring around Saturn, whatever. And today was mindless. That one I felt was a little harder. Like you would paint something that just says mindless. So a lot of people were drawing zombies with no brain. And I didn't do either of those prompts. I just drew it. I think that seeing everybody draw and post their art and be into Inktober, all the artists, it's so cool, and it really gives you the drive to just draw. So I highly recommend. You don't even have to be an artist or have skill, just doodle. All right, my spider webs are done, and now I am going to think about some layout things. So I'm going to write the word boo. I've got this big knot hole here, which actually that would make a really cool spider web, thinking about it now. But I think writing over that might be a challenge. So I'm going to write boo right here where it's nice and flat. I do have a little dangling spider, so you know I could actually turn this knot hole into a spider. That seems like a pretty practical thing to do. So you want to make a little dangling web down. So I'll do that real quick. There we go. I'm going to make my spider right there. So I just dangle the web down to where it's going to go. I'll pull this up to the camera so you can see that glorious knot hole and see how it really is shaped like some kind of funky spider, or it could have been a spider web. All right. So I'm going to let that white dry really quick. It won't take long. And I'm going to travel back down to here. And this is where I'm going to create Jack's arms and chest and all that. I like to use the thin edge of my number 8. But you could use your number 4. That's totally fine. And instead of using white, I want to make a sort of medium toned gray. So I'll mix a little black and white together. Pretty close to the same gray that you used in the background here. It could be a touch lighter if you want. This is going to add some shine to Jack's coat. So I have a lot of paint on my brush from mixing, and I want to wipe some of that off. So I'll just find a place on my palette, swipe it off so I have just a little on here. Remember, we're going to be using this skinny edge. Here's the color I made. It's somewhere in there. I've got a lot of grays going on there. And skinny edge of the brush. And here's what I do. I want to create Jack's chest. So he's very skinny. But if I go here and here, so this is where his armpit goes down. And his arms are just kind of dangling off there. If needed, you could create a little triangular area down here. So it looks kind of like the background color peeking through, and like his arms are just hanging down. I also like to put a little shine on the edge of the coat sleeves. Just a short little line right at the edge. It can be even a broken up line. And I could create what looks like a jacket lapel, so it would just come down like that. So there, that kind of looks like a weird jacket lapel. So I'm going to line it up with this last little curly Q thing there. And back down to this. And then you can put a little of this highlight, maybe use a small brush here if needed, but I'll put a little highlight shine on those little crazy things. His feather boa. All right. Looking great. Happy with the way it's turned out so far. The last time I painted one of these, it was on a very, very smooth piece of wood. So having this one that has some aggressive texture, it was a little bit of a mental challenge. I was afraid that I would run into something that would be hard to teach from, but nope, I had a little trouble through here, and other than that, it worked out really good. So I want to use my little brush, or you can use the skinny edge of number 8, a little black paint. I have a little water on my palette from a drop left over, so that's good. I'll mix it in. And I'm just going to sketch a really light line. See how I'm balancing my pinky on the board here? That way I don't have to use a huge amount of pressure. And if you want, you could do buttons down the jacket. Maybe I'll do that since I don't really have it on the original. I don't remember on men if they're on the left or the right, but we'll just do it that way. Yay! Jack is officially done. Unless you feel like you need to go back and clean up any area like around the eyes. I see a couple spots where my gray shading kind of overlap the eye, but it's actually not super noticeable. So I'm gonna let it be. Okay, spider time. So I like to make spiders with really long pokey legs. In fact, I'll draw one right here because the spider I do on mine is going to have to be a little bit different just because I'm going to sort of be following the cracks in that knot hole. So my typical spider that I do when I do some Halloween paintings has the circular body. I like to give it really sharp, long, dangly legs, kind of Slenderman style. So I'll do one right here. These are the two in the front. Boom, boom. Just hanging out. Boom, boom. Suddenly we got 4. Mix some water in your paint. Out, down. Don't worry about like what leg is longer than the other. This is a very whimsical painting and it's not going to matter. So I've got 6, 2 more legs to do. And they can overlap or underlap, whatever works out, the ones in front of it. There we go. And if you want, you can do like the little, whatever those are. The scary.
Two is mandibles.
Mandibles. There. That looks cool. And then we've got our little web coming up the back. Okay. So that was pretty easy. Just a circle body and legs that go straight out and then a sharp hook down for your nice dangly spider. So this one, I'm going to go with, let me hold this up again. You can see that I've got, my legs are going to go out and they're going to be all over the place. So this will be the very crazy spider. He got into the cider. So there's my circle body. Semicircle. Remember, before you paint those legs on, we are going to write boo across here. If you feel like you want to do the writing first, just fast forward a little bit and you can do the writing first and then go back to the spider. If you do the legs and they're too long and your boo overlaps, that is not a big deal at all. It should be totally fine. So, I've got these 2 legs, which are 2 cracks that are going to become legs. There's one. Do use a little water in your paint. Here's the other one. I've got another one here. So the cracks are there, the start of the cracks, and I just have to draw the rest of the leg. 4 legs so far. Another crack to start here. And then I've got this one that actually kind of does this weird little wavy thing. Maybe he's reaching down to Jack. Hold my hand. And then I've got one that comes out here. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be super happy seeing a spider like that in nature. I would have to name it Sir George. So there's the little mandibles, if you want. You can leave the spider off. If you really don't want a spider on there. But long, skinny legs make a nice spider. Let's see, did I get them all? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yay. Okay, so now all I have left is to write boo, or whatever it is that you want to write. I am going to, this is where I'll probably use my Bahama blue just as an accent color. I'm going to pop a little bit on the palette. So the letters I have, they're shaped like bones. Like, I mean, you'll see when I paint them on here. So I think, and then they have little stripes on them. So I think the Bahama blue would be a good one to use for those little stripes. And some people are really awesome at lettering. Other people, it's a little bit of a struggle. Let me pull up this and you can see the spider there, how it ended up. I kind of like the position he's in. So that was like one of those nature planned it out for me. So, some people are really good at lettering, and other people, it's a struggle. It's something I've had to learn. I started by writing block letters and bubble letters when I was like in 7th grade, and just lettering kind of became a fun thing that I really liked. So it's 3 letters plus the exclamation point, so I just kind of figure it's going to go from here to here probably. All the Tim Burton movie, everything, all the lettering is always really tall and skinny. I think that that's the style. Just the tall, skinny Jack, tall, skinny spider, tall, skinny lettering. So I'm going to start over here. Maybe I'll just kind of round the letters to round with his head. You could go straight across, but it's kind of fun to just, if you can, round it. So I'm just going to start by making a vertical line. Please don't stress about this. You can, I want to show you something really quick. This is called a Posca marker, and it is a white paint marker, and you can buy them at just about any art store. I got this one at Blick. It would work just fine for this sort of lettering. And they come in all different colors too. So here's how I'm going to turn it into a bone. I'm just going to do kind of like a V shape at that end, and then one over here. So it kind of looks like that typical like dog bone that you see in cartoons. Little rounded bumps. It's like a femur. Let's hold it up there. So, and then to turn this into a B, I like to kind of make it a little whimsical, so I'll cross over here. Starts off as a P. And remember, tall, skinny, and then you could cross over here too if you want to make it a little fancier. You could give these little bone ends as well. The more flair you can add here, I think the better. B. And if you need to, go back and give it a second coat if needed. Now I just kind of will eyeball, so I need O apostrophe, or exclamation point, sorry. O's are easy. Just make a tall, skinny oval. Boo! Bow. Oh, my head is in the way. Sorry, Paul's signaling to me. Thanks, Paul. The painters thank you. So now I have bow. Don't have to do any kind of bone ends with that at all. So like I said, O's are easy. And now another. I just try to match the size as best as I can, but I'm not going to stress about it at all. Whimsical, wonky is good. I know I've used that term a lot through this painting. So the exclamation point is a perfect femur bone. So you can do the line, just like we did when we did the B. Ew, I had some wood grain in there that kind of captured some of my paint. And then I'm going to do the little V shape, kind of rounded. And leave a spot underneath, in between Jack's head and this, for the dot. So the dot, simple little circle. So I could do another one of these because I kind of ended up off center just a bit. And that's how it goes when you're kind of eyeballing. If you wanted to get out rulers and all that stuff, you could. But I just fix it up by saying, oh, it needs something else. Okay. Another exclamation point it is. That looks a little better. I think my B ended up being maybe a little smaller than it needed to be. So what I did on the original one is I took black and I'll just do how about this? I'll do the exclamation points with little black stripes to differentiate them from the letters. So it doesn't look like it says bool. And now I'm going to bring in my Bahama blue. And I'll just do little Bahama blue stripes. Just simple little dashes all around here. The other place you could use Bahama blue is I could make, I'll do that. I'll paint over the bat's eyes with Bahama blue. That's fun. And they look like they're glowing. And it ties the two colors in together. You could give your spider little blue eyes. Almost done here, and I'll put this up near the camera so you can see the final product, and we'll also show a picture of it so you can see it. I've got really wet paint right here, so I'm not going to touch that yet. Okay. Done and done. And look at that. We transformed it into a really fun Halloween decoration that I painted myself. You'll paint it yourself. Be ready to hang just in time for the grand holiday. If you want to sign it, you can sign it down in the corner or sign it on the back. There's not a lot of room down here. But this is a great one to put up on your front porch or in your front window. The rain doesn't seem to bother acrylic paint. I've got pumpkins out on the porch right now and it was downpouring and they're fine. So far so good. I hope you guys will join us again. We'll be doing our next painting live video pretty soon. We're going to announce the date. I think it's probably October 14th, Monday, October 14th. And unless that changes for whatever reason. But that's what we're planning. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and enjoy some more painting time with us. Thank you. If you like what you saw here, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe for more fun art videos. And you can also visit our website, gobox.com, spelled just like Van Gogh.